Welcome back to the show. Our first guest is Larry Mintz, senior partner at Goldenberg, Mackler, Sayegh and Mintz. Larry, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Listen, we love the fact that you're here. Been trying to get you for a little while now. Before we get into this interview, Larry, do me a favor. Tell our listeners, viewers, and whoever's out there in the TV land a little bit about Larry Mintz, please.
Well, I've been a lawyer for almost 40 years now, and been working for the same law firm, Goldenberg, Mackler, Sayegh and Mintz, since 1981. My primary area of practice is workers' compensation. We only represent injured workers. We do not represent any insurance carriers or any companies, only the plaintiffs, only the petitioners, as they're called in workers' comp. And I've, by now, seen it all.
You've definitely seen it all. Listen, I understand that you're an expert workman's comp attorney. Tell us what that means exactly, please.
Well, in my case, I'm certified as a workers' compensation specialist by the New Jersey State Supreme Court. Only 1% of all the lawyers in the state of New Jersey are certified by the Supreme Court as workers' compensation lawyers. And of that 1%, most are insurance company representatives. Very few are petitioner representatives or injured worker representatives such as myself. So that distinguishes me. It's not just an easy thing to become certified. You have to have a vast amount of experience. You have to pass a very, very rigorous written examination demonstrating your expertise in the law and the practice. And you have to have multiple years of experience exclusively doing workers' compensation, which is why there are so few certified workers' compensation lawyers in New Jersey.
Right, and there you go, folks. I mean, if you don't know, now you know. That's the way to go, is to Larry's. So, Larry, real quick, we're going to get into workman's comp as it is, but one of the questions I always get, and making a little announcement that you were going to be on the show, what if the injury is caused, the accident itself by themselves, the person, the plaintiff? Is there a problem with that, or how does that work?
No, seriously, we have a no-fault workers' compensation statute in the state of New Jersey. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It means that even if the work-related accident or injury was the fault of the injured worker, it doesn't matter, as long as it occurred while the worker was in the scope of his employment or doing what he was supposed to do as part of his job duties. So if he tripped over his own 2 feet, for example, if he wasn't watching where he was going, if he ran into somebody in his work-related vehicle and caused an accident, doesn't matter. Even if he caused the injury, as long as it occurred while he was in the scope of his employment and doing his job, he is entitled to the workers' compensation benefits afforded by our statute or law.
And is this something that you find commonplace with most folks that come to you, not sure of what, if they're able to, so to speak, sue or have a case?
Oh, sure. I get a lot of initial phone calls and inquiries saying, well, geez, am I still able to bring a workers' compensation case if I caused the injury, or it was really my fault, or it was really my own negligence or my own misgivings that caused it? The answer is yes, absolutely yes. And
this may sound silly to you, but again, no question, it's a silly question, is it? Why would we need an attorney?
Well, let me back up and explain what the workers' compensation benefits are, so that I can put some meat on the skeleton of the question you just asked me. First of all, there are 2 types of workers' compensation claims that are recognized by our law. One you already covered, the accident or the work-related trauma. Somebody falls off of a ladder. Somebody's lifting something heavy off the back of his truck and herniates a disc in his lower back. It happens immediately. Immediate cause and effect. It's an accident. The second type of claim that's recognized by our law is called the occupational exposure, or more commonly, the wear and tear case, which means it doesn't happen all at once, Mike. It happens over a period of time because of something that the worker does day in and day out as part of their job duties, or something that that worker is exposed to as part of their work-related environment, such as breathing in mold or mildew, or being in a sick building, or breathing in asbestos fibers, or the classic wear and tear claim, somebody who does heavy labor and over a long period of time either causes or, and this is very important, aggravates, accelerates, or exacerbates a pre-existing condition because of the work duties that he or she does over and over and over again. So if you have a pre-existing low back injury and you are required constantly and repetitively to lift heavy items on your job, and as a result of many, many months or years of lifting, you aggravate or make that pre-existing condition worse, then you are also entitled to workers' compensation benefits. Now, let me get to your question.
It's got it.
What are the benefits that one gets if they have this work-related trauma or work-related wear and tear? First and foremost, they get workers' compensation provides the medical treatment necessary to cure or to make that condition as good as it possibly can be made, at the expense of the workers' comp insurance carrier. That's number one. Number two, if the doctor that is authorized to treat, and by the way, that means that the workers' compensation insurance company picks and chooses the doctor that they wish to authorize. They usually have a network of experts that are very well capable of providing treatment. But as long as that doctor feels that you cannot work while you're recovering from the injury or the surgery or the other necessary treatment, you're entitled to a second benefit called temporary disability, which is the payment of 70% of your weekly wages for however many weeks the doctor keeps you out of work. Now, all that to answer your question, why does one need a lawyer? And the answer is because 6 out of 10 people who are hurt on the job in the state of New Jersey don't realize that there's more to it than the two things that I just identified. Most people think as long as they're paying for my medical bills or as long as they're paying me for the time that I'm off of the job, that's all I get. And the insurance carriers want to keep that as a big dark secret, because if a lawyer is retained, then the insurance company is also going to be forced to provide a settlement at the end of the case for whatever permanent damage results from the work-related injury or wear and tear. And the insurance company is going to be required to pay more than half of the lawyer's fee that the lawyer gets paid at the end of the case. And the insurance company is going to also have to be able to be available so that the case can be reopened, and the worker has the right to reopen the case for up to 2 years from the time they receive that settlement of permanent damage. So the insurance carriers keep that a big dark secret. Most people that call me think that they're only entitled to medical treatment and lost wage benefits, and without a lawyer, there is not going to be that large settlement at the end of the case. There's not going to be that continuing right to reopen the case into the future, and there's not going to be the assessment of lawyers' fees against the insurance carrier.
And when you talk big dark secret, I totally understand what you're saying. But talking about the injured and their workplace, how are they protected? You know, well, I'm sure lots of men and women come to you, well, you know, I don't want nothing to happen to my job. You know, what's going to happen? How am I protected? Oh, please.
The workers' compensation statute makes it a Category 3 criminal act to be discriminated against, retaliated against, or terminated as a direct result of a workers' compensation case. There is also civil remedies where you can sue the employer for wrongful termination if it's based on retaliatory action due to bringing of a workers' compensation case. And in my long experience, I've only had 1 or 2 situations where that has happened. Most of the larger companies know better. Maybe a small mom and pop company will not understand that there is this prohibition against any type of discrimination, and they'll say, you so-and-so, you brought a workers' compensation claim against me, you're fired, go home. I've only seen that happen once or twice in my lengthy career. It doesn't happen because the law is so strong and stringent against such a thing.
And that's good to know, and I'm sure that it makes a lot of folks out there, you know, feel a little bit easier about doing it, because, you know, when you're injured, and the way times are at this present day, 2023, you know, work is so important. It always has been, right? Nobody wants to lose their job, but it's good to know that the employer knows what's going to happen. I mean, when you got something, they can be struck with themselves. Now, this may sound silly as well, too. You know, what do they get? You know, when they come to you and besides, what you explained?
Well, some people are fortunate enough to come to me having the workers' compensation already accepting compensability or responsibility for the claim. Others are not. Others come to me because the workers' compensation insurance company has denied the claim for various reasons. Maybe there was no witnesses to the accident, and there's a question as to whether or not the injury really occurred on the job as opposed to somewhere else. There may be an issue of medical causal relationship between the injury that is claimed and the work-connected injury or exposure. It may not have been caused by work. If somebody, for example, feels that they've, or brings a claim for a work-related heart attack and there's a medical issue, there may be a denied claim. So that, of course, is where we start in a case that's been denied. We start by attempting to establish that there is cause and effect between either the work environment or the work job duties and the medical issue that is at hand, or the accident and the need for medical treatment. In those cases that we win, or we are successful in proving connection between the work environment or the work duties or the work accident and the medical condition, they get, as I said, medical treatment, they get temporary disability for the time they've lost from the job, and they get a settlement based upon how much permanent damage they've suffered as a direct result of the injury, accident, or wear and tear.
Now, we have about 2 or 3 minutes left, Larry. Very quickly, if they're, continue to be denied, is there an exhausted amount of people or times that the claim can be denied till it gets brought to court, so to speak?
If the claim is denied, then either it's going to have to be brought to court,
right,
or it's going to go by the wayside and be dismissed because the client just doesn't want to pursue it. But if the claim is denied and a lawyer is retained, then the lawyer takes it to some sort of resolution before a court, either a settlement out of court or an ultimate trial where there's a conclusion made by the judge of compensation. And by the way, we do not have a jury in workers' compensation. Right. But the judge of compensation would make a decision as to whether or not the insurance company is correct or incorrect in denying the claim.
Okay, and about 2 minutes left. You touched on it earlier in the interview. They can reopen.
Absolutely.
Explain that one more time,
All
please.
Right. So I explained that there is a settlement at the end of the case for the permanent damage that's been sustained as a result of the work-connected injury or wear and tear. After that settlement is paid, the worker still has an additional 2 years from the date that they are paid within which to reopen the case should they need further medical treatment related to this accident or injury, or should their condition worsen, even if they're no longer working for the employer at which the injury or wear and tear occurred. And if they reopen within that 2-year period for whatever reason, then they buy themselves more time down the line. So the claim isn't over at settlement. The claim lives on with the right to reopen into the future. And reopening the case is a simple matter of returning to the lawyer that represented you originally. A one-page document is filed with the court, and a formal request is made of the insurance company to provide additional medical treatment.
Love it. You explained it all well. Listen, I want to thank you for coming out. Last word to you.
Thanks for having me.
Right. Listen, Larry Mintz, we appreciate you coming. This is the place to go, folks. Thanks again to Larry Mintz for being on our show. Folks, stick around. We'll be right back.